Hi, so I'm back and I can only apologise for taking off a few days out to try and just try and pull myself together a little bit. I I found the last week incredibly difficult with the play and with Sam's anniversary, and I've got another one this week, and just everything that's going on. And I will give you an update as to where we're up to now. But I mean, cancelling what we had to cancel last week was heartbreaking for me, with cancelling Nev's fundraiser that was supposed to be happening this week. And then other news came in, which I'll update you with. And I suppose, where do I start? When I first started this project about 14 months ago and made the decision to write Dancing in the Wings, I naively, I suppose, thought that that would be the hard bit, and it was. It was incredibly difficult, and it took an awful lot out of me, a lot more than I thought. I mean, I've written a huge amount before, but when it comes to writing your own story and having to dig down into something that is so painful, it took a huge amount to do it, and then the 5 rewrites, and by the time I kind of got the play to a point around Easter where it was kind of ready to move forward, I really honestly thought that was the hard bit over. But I couldn't have been more wrong. And because once you've written it, you've then got to take it to the stage. My whole point behind this, and my whole reason for doing this, was to try and use my story, which was so painful, but to try and use that positively, do something with my daughter, to raise awareness, understanding and support for a subject area that is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's very much what people class as a taboo subject. It's something, who wants to talk about babies that have died? I mean, for people who haven't been through it, it's something people don't want to think about. For people who have been through it, it's something that's so incredibly painful that it's easier to hide under a rock, or lock yourself in 4 walls rather than actually talk about it and discuss it. And because baby loss is something that doesn't really come under, I mean, it's linked with mental health, which has a big profile now, but it's not kind of directly, it doesn't have a priority within the system. It doesn't have a priority. I mean, there's a lot of trusts, of NHS trusts now, who are improving support and services to, parents like me, but it still doesn't have a priority. So it doesn't attract that funding. But I think what I wanted to try and do through my story was to tell people how debilitating and how difficult and how hard it is to not only survive baby loss, but to come out the other side and try and find your place within the world once you've gone through it. Because one of the most natural things in the world, as you grow up, you have this plan that you grow up, you meet somebody, you get into a relationship, you have a family. It's one of those things that is just a natural step in life. So when you can't achieve that step, and in my case, not being able to achieve it 5 times, it kind of almost, for me as a parent, it almost takes away, am I real? Am I just a freak? Am I, all of these things. And to try and reconcile with that and to try and deal with that takes a huge amount of support. And at the moment, the support still isn't there to the level it needs to be. when you think about the fact that, 1 in 4 pregnancies is lost through miscarriage, that is kind of early loss, and then a huge number, more than people can ever imagine, babies who, and we're talking about developed countries, we're talking about the UK, we're not talking about developing countries. The huge number of babies that are actually lost around the point of birth or just after is a lot bigger than people can imagine. Therefore, in my eyes, I figure that with that number of people having to face this at whatever stage, there should be a priority with it. There should be a support network out there, and it is improving, and there are some amazing charities out there, but it's still something that is so taboo and something people find so uncomfortable. So what I wanted to do was try and help, I suppose, try and increase the understanding and the knowledge around this. So obviously, coming back to the play, I finished the play. We then managed to find theatres that we could run the play in. We could put the play on stage with. But obviously, I'm working with a community theatre group who are not for profit. Therefore, they don't have the funding, to kind of cover things like the touring costs that are a lot higher than people imagine. So I took a lot of advice and guidance through charities that I work with, and various different individuals and healthcare professionals who were really, really keen to support the play and what I'm trying to do. But still, at the end of the day, there is obviously charities, they have their own money to raise. So that's not an option to kind of dig into their own money. Healthcare, the NHS struggles for resources as it is. So that's an option that you struggle with. As a not-for-profit organisation rather than a charity with Suitcase Theatre, the number of funding options are limited. So I took it on my shoulders, I suppose, thinking that it would be more straightforward than it has been, to try and raise funds myself. And so we've done that various different ways. We started off with crowdfunding, and having looked at different projects that have gone on in crowdfunding, we thought, well, that's a really good option. But we started off, and I think we had the target, which was the target we needed to reach, of £3,000 to cover the touring costs. And in that crowdfunding, where we put a film together with the charities, we only managed to raise £500, just over £500 of the £3,000, which was fantastic. And, it was great for those people that supported that. But it wasn't enough. So the next stage was trying to figure out where do we go from there, and we looked at various different funding options and different kind of funding strands, that pots of money that were available, but we just didn't fit within criteria, not being a charity, and with it being, it's not a community project as such. It's supporting people within the community, but it's not a community project, which was when I got to know Neville Southall, and amazing guy, who's become a really good friend. And his suggestion of doing a fundraiser event, I thought was amazing and fantastic. And I know what following Nev has and how popular and how loved he is, and so I was really honoured that he wanted to do this, and I thought, yeah, absolutely, this will be fantastic. Unfortunately, it just didn't raise the interest that we really hoped it was going to. And we launched it at the end of November. We launched ticket sales at the end of November, and there was just nothing. There was so little interest in it. I was really surprised, and I think Nev was as well. And the reasons for that, maybe it was because it was January, maybe it was because It wasn't around payday. Obviously, we went with the date because it would have been Sam's 8th birthday, and it seemed a really special thing to do. You know, I know that, as I say, Never's very popular, so I knew it wasn't down to that side of things, and maybe it was down to the subject. People weren't comfortable with the fact that it was baby loss, and you know, it was an evening for baby loss. I don't know, but for whatever reason, you know, it just didn't raise the interest that we really hoped it would. And we pushed and we pushed and we pushed, and Nev worked really hard with this as well, and people behind the scenes. But we just, you know, we kind of hit a point that, you know, we hoped, you know, with a generous gesture that we had as part of it, we thought, well, we can get away with selling fewer tickets. But even with selling fewer tickets, in the end, I think we sold 39 tickets, and that would just cover the costs of, you know, the entertainment, and you know, the venue, and so we ended up, I had to make a call on it. In the end, I had to make a call on it, because it wasn't something, you know, do we go ahead with an evening that's just going to cover costs? And in the end, I just couldn't. I talked to a number of people, and we just couldn't justify it, which was why we had to pull it. And that was absolutely heartbreaking for me, and very difficult for Nev as well, you know, because he worked so hard with it. So that was last week, the beginning of last week. And then I was facing the anniversary of Sam dying, towards the end of the week. And unfortunately, the day before, I had a phone conversation with the theatre group, with their production manager, and we had a long conversation, and basically what they'd said was that realistically the 23rd of January, which was when the fundraiser was due to take place, was the last date they felt they could give it to raise the money that we needed. And unless we hit the £3,000 mark with everything, we couldn't cover the touring costs of the whole tour. So it was kind of taken out of my hands to a degree to say that, look, with the fundraiser now cancelled, they don't feel that we're going to be able to raise funding in time, you know, to kind of cover the costs. And, you know, the theatre group couldn't afford to support that level of loss. So we, in the end, with the additional crowdfunding the funding link that I put up, we raised just over £2,000 in total. So with the initial £500, and then the amazing support that I've had, thank you so much, through Twitter for the funding, we raised just over £2,000. So that leaves us in a predicament that there's nearly £1,000 to still raise, and it needed to be raised by this week. We had to make a decision. The theatre group had to make a decision, and the decision was that absolutely we go ahead with Theatre Clwyd in Mould, which is where the tour is starting, or where the play is starting, and then we need to think about which theatres we take out of it, because we just couldn't afford the touring costs. They couldn't afford the touring costs. So the decision was made in the end to take out the Wrexham venue and the Carnarvon venue. So Dancing in the Wings, thankfully, will be going on stage. Thank you to you for the incredible, generous, donations and support that we've had. It will now be going to stage. It will be going to Theatre Clwyd, and it will be doing Chester. So Mould and Chester are the two venues that Dancing in the Wings is now going to go to. Now, obviously, again, this was heartbreaking for me that we couldn't fulfil the full tour. I completely understand, and you know, I'm not going to put the theatre company in a position where they're going to end up bankrupt as a result of doing a tour, because you know, in order to cover the rest of the cost, because the total cost of the tour was going to be £9,000, but some of that was going to be covered by ticket sales, and so this was the additional money that was required. But what we have to do now is sell tickets. So I have to pick myself up off the floor. I have to be really positive and say, well, okay, we can't do those 2 theatres, but we are now doing the majority of nights. So what we've lost is 3 nights, but we are still doing 5 nights. So that's good. That is, in effect, that's good news, because everyone who sees that play, it will help with the understanding. It will do what I wanted it to do, just in a smaller number of locations. That's where I'm up to, and it is thanks to all of you, for the incredible support and donations you've given that Dancing in the Wings can get this far. I do have plans now to, I am in talks with a number of people to look at taking Dancing in the Wings further, but doing it more as a kind of support training, using it as a training method. So I have a lot of conversations to have now around where the play goes afterwards, and my hope is that it will go to support understanding and training with possibly healthcare professionals and trainee healthcare professionals, to try and help them improve the service and support that they are able to give through an increased understanding. So I can't thank everybody enough, and Nev, who continues to support me and the play, and everybody out there who has helped so much to get us to the point. I am closing down the fundraising now, because obviously we can't take the tour any further, but we're getting it to stage, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know, yes, we may not be doing quite what we hope to do, but we're getting it out there, and that's fantastic, and it's thanks to you. So I will keep you updated, and I'm now moving from fundraising to ticket selling. So what I need now is just for people to support in filling the seats. You know, tickets have started to sell already for Theatre Clwyd and for Chester, and we are contacting hospitals in the area and everybody we can, so that we can raise awareness that the play is on, and we will then I will then, once it is finished with Suitcase Theatre, that's not the end of it. That's not the end of the play, and that's not the end of me doing the work that I'm doing. We're now looking at it from I'm looking at it from different options and how we take that forward. So in effect, when I step back, it is good news. It's just been a very bumpy and emotional ride on the way. But thank you, and I will keep you updated, and I will start to get information out now about all the places you can buy tickets, and you know, please do come along and support this. The ticket money from the ticket sales, or donations from the ticket sales, will be going to Hope House and will be going to Sands. So not only are we raising awareness and understanding, but also I hope that through, you know, whatever we raise will help support Hope House, who supported me incredibly for a long period of time to reach where I am now, and to Sands, who do such an amazing job with the projects that they do. So if you want any more information, you are more than welcome to message me. I will get the information out about ticket sales and about locations and venues. But just a huge thank you, and for all the messages of support I've had while I've kind of hit the floor a little bit over the last week. Thank you. So I will speak to you soon. Take care.